Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things. And now we see them in today. We have a pretty serious episode for you guys that we want you guys to stick around for. So please make sure you go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as y'all know, the Ime Udoka story made a lot of headlines. I think about 2 weeks ago, everyone was talking about it, right? And now that the dust is settled, it seems like we pretty much have all the information, at least all we think that there could be possibly be about this story. Now, just today, I was watching a segment on ESPN First Take, and the NBA is right around the corner. And this segment, they were talking about the Boston Celtics. Fantastic. During the show, they had Tim Legler, Chris Mad Dog Russo, and Stephen A. Smith. So while they were talking, the question was, how do you think the Boston Celtics this season will do without their head coach, Ime Udoka? Now, here's what's interesting about this particular segment that they produced today. Just yesterday, we actually produced the show just about that very same topic, where we talked about the effects the team may experience with not having their head coach there under the new interim head coach, Joe Mazzulla. So we touched on that. So while Stephen A. Smith was talking, as he was talking, he started to say something that I myself had never considered as it pertained to this Ime Udoka scandal. So for those of you who missed the comments that Stephen A. Smith had to make about what he thinks really went on in that story there, what we want to do is we want to play what he had to say for you right now, and then we're going to come back and unpack it. So take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say here.
And I'm even going a step further there. You want me to tell y'all some news? I didn't say this anywhere else, but I'm going to say it now. I said on my podcast, No Mercy. I'm going to say it again. I believe part of the reason he was suspended, but not fired, is because the Boston Celtics did not want him to end up in Brooklyn. I believe that Ime Udoka, had he gotten fired with all the stuff that happened, remember, the operative words were consensual relationship, violation of organizational policy. So because it's that, it's about your behavior, which we don't endorse, as opposed to a crime. And because there was nothing that was put out there that said it was a crime, I believe that if Ime Udoka had been fired by the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets would have fired Steve Nash and brought that brother back, and he would be the coach for the Brooklyn Nets right now. That's how emphatic I feel about that. That's no source material, no inside information. That's just my personal opinion. KD wanting to be traded. KD asking out of his deal, wanting Steve Nash, allegedly, supposedly, reportedly wanting Steve Nash, and obviously, I'm sorry, the GM. I'm sorry, I got
Marks.
Like that. Marks, Sean Marks. I talk to him all the time. I don't know why. Here's the deal. I forgot his name. The point is, those guys wanting them gone. I believe if Ime Udoka, who was an assistant before he got the Boston Celtics job, he was an assistant in Brooklyn. Had he gotten fired, he would have been coaching in Brooklyn. And if that brother was coaching KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons, Lord have mercy.
You think the Celtics didn't fire him because they were afraid of that?
I think they were afraid of that.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
So you heard what he had to say. Here's my first opinion about what he had to say. I 100% believe him. I 100% believe him, and I'll tell you why. The reason I believe him is this. I believe that the Boston Celtics wanted to make an example of Ime Udoka. That's what I 100% believe. And it goes back to the original point that Stephen A. Smith made, which was this. If you felt what he did was wrong, it's either you fire him or you retain him as head coach. But the current situation that Ime Udoka finds himself in is this guy is currently in limbo. He has been suspended for a year, and I think his salary has been reduced by 50%. And we don't know the status of his job with the Boston Celtics moving forward. Do you know? Did they say they're just suspending him for a year and then he's going to continue working with the team? No one knows, which opens up the door for these type of speculations. Now, why should we give Stephen A. Smith his opinions on this more gravity than we would another person out there? It's because of his connections within the league. It's because of his connections within the league. Here's the fact of the matter. Before Ime Udoka took over the Boston Celtics, they had an 18-21 record. Okay, that's before he took over the team. After he took over the team, they finished the season with a 51-31 record. They finished the season with the number 1 rated the defensive team in the entire NBA, and you saw what they were able to do in the playoffs last year, where they absolutely stifled both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in the first round. They went to the second round. They played a very tough Milwaukee Bucks team in 7 games. Ultimately, they made it to the NBA championship. Before they brought him on as head coach, the team was absolutely floundering. Do you think that there weren't other organizations around the NBA that took notice of what happened? What happened with the Boston Celtics with that turnaround? Don't you think other teams took notice? Don't you think other teams said to themselves, wait a minute, if this guy was able to do that job with that team, can you imagine what he would be able to do with our particular team? I believe that this is the success story of Ime Udoka highly influenced the decision-making process with the Los Angeles Lakers when they themselves decided, hey, you know what? Let's go out there and try to give Darvin Ham, a rookie head coach, this job to coach LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and those guys. You think if they didn't see the example of Ime Udoka and the success story that he had with the Boston Celtics, you think they would be as open as they are, and given all the information that we know about the Lakers, knowing that they like to control, they're very hands-on. They're very hands-on organization. They even pick the coaching staffs on some of the coaches that they hire. You think they would have been open to that idea had they not seen what happened with the Boston Celtics and Ime Udoka? Absolutely not. So I think the position that he just provided is plausible. It is plausible. Why wouldn't they want him? Look at what happened with the Boston Celtics last season. One of the biggest deficiency points for that team was their coaching. So you think if the Boston Celtics had an opportunity to go after a guy like Ime Udoka or any other team, they wouldn't grasp at that opportunity. But now, where he currently finds himself in is in total limbo. He cannot be hired. And no one knows what his future is going to be. And in my personal opinion, I don't even think they're going to bring him back to that organization. I'm not even that optimistic. Why would they? What would change in a year? What would change? What would be the change? If the reports are true and what he did is in fact true, there's no way you're coming back from that. They're not going to bring him within the fold. So I don't think he's going to go back to that team. And I think Stephen A. Smith makes an important point. And also, I think it's important for this particular story, given the fact that it was between 2 consenting adults, I think a lot of us need to keep our nose out of other people's business. How about that? A lot of people out there casting judgment. Nobody knows what you're doing in your personal life. So since when did so many people become so righteous? All of a sudden start saying, hey, this guy shouldn't have been doing this. What are you doing that you feel so comfortable to be going around judging all this? Since when did everybody become so self-righteous all of a sudden? So to me, I think Stephen A. Smith made some very poignant points, and I think it's something we should consider, at least from a basketball standpoint. At least from a basketball. Now, obviously, you heard Mad Dog Russo said he disagrees. He doesn't think that happened. But I think what Stephen A. Smith said is absolutely plausible. But these are just my opinions on this. So what I want to know from you guys is this. What do you think about the assertions that Stephen A. Smith put forward? And ultimately, what do you think will be, what do you think will be the future of Ime Udoka moving forward in the NBA? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And we catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.